Welcome to the Intern Whisperer. The show is all about the future of work and innovation. So my name's Isabella, and I am the host of the Intern Whisperer Podcast, which is brought to you by Employers for Change, helping hiring teams reduce employer hiring bias and increase competency, skill recruitment, and learning. Today's guest is someone I've known for a bit. His name is Adam Ben-Evi. He is the CEO of Spot, a social fitness app that promotes helping people lead healthier and active lifestyles. He is passionate about giving back to the community and has been mentoring entrepreneurs for the past 10 years. I've known him for a while, and you're going to get to learn more about him. So, Adam, I always kick off my show with asking guests, what are 5 words that describe you and why those 5 words? My listeners know that I also prompt, so it's okay. No worries. You said the first one is positive. Why positive?
Yeah, you gotta be positive every day. And first of all, I want to say thank you for having me as well. This
Oh,
is
you're
great.
welcome.
Yeah, you gotta be positive every day. Some people like to focus on the problem, and I just try to focus on the solution and just being positive, waking up every day, and don't let the outside problems come in and affect that. And I just try to be positive to my wife and kids, positive to the company, right? Positive to the people around me. And that's kind of the way I live. It takes a lot for me to get down, and I don't know. It's a trait that I have, I guess.
I think that's a great one to have. And a lot of times people get frustrated and they get distracted by the problem. So if you take a deep breath, I'm sure you do, and go, okay, well, what can we do? And then stay in that place,
Yeah, absolutely.
attitudes change.
Sometimes I see people like on my team get so frustrated with something, and I laugh inside because it's really if you're outside looking in, and you realize that you can tackle anything. So
Yeah, totally. Determined. Why did you say determined?
yeah, I'm determined to do something, make some change, right? Make something out of my life. I've been driven since I was young. I mean, I'm not a main man, and I've just been hustling, I guess, my whole life, and determined to make something for myself, my family, the kids, people around me, right, in the community. So I'm not going to stop. I've had failures, I've had successes, but I'm just determined to get to my goals and where I want to be.
Failure is about learning, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's one of the best things that we can take
Yeah.
away from that is that, well, what did I learn from this, right? It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's so sad that we always think failure is a bad word. It should be one of the most liberating words we have, I think.
Yeah. Failures are great.
Definitely. So, caring, that I think is the word that I would have picked to describe who you are the most.
Yeah. I care a lot of the people around me, care about the community. I mean, as a young age, I remember my dad used to take me to go feed the homeless. And we'd go feed the homeless. We'd go out, take them to like McDonald's, Burger King, even sometimes. And I used to do that with him on the weekends. And it's important to give back to the community, and because they're the ones that are going to take over, right? They're the ones that are going to take forward, especially the younger generation that's coming up, right? So that's why I've mentored at UCF for many years as a community coach, and it's really about
Startup weekend. I know you and I run in the same circles. So I'm going, you're not just UCF, you're way more than that.
yeah, I love giving back. So
1 million cups. I've seen you there. I've seen you at all of the events that we go to that are focused on entrepreneurship, Innovate Orlando events. Just you've been to I think even in some of the Game Jam events and
yep.
Orlando does. Yeah, you're everywhere. So
And you learn more, honestly, from these growing students that are come up and coming. I feel like I learn more sometimes from the people I'm mentoring.
hmm
So it's a two-way street there.
It is. That's called peer and reverse mentoring.
Yeah,
And yeah, because we learn not just from older and younger, but across your industries, across generations, as we just said a minute ago, ethnicities, races. We always can learn. We can learn from little animals too, right? Your
absolutely.
pets. So, wow. Like how to love people. I
Yep,
think that's what I take the best from an animal. It's like, oh yeah, I'm happy to see you when they walk in the door, right?
yep.
Except for cats, not
I
cats.
don't like cats either.
Cats cats rarely will run to a human
I'm a
unless
dog
they're
person for sure.
oh, me too. Me too. Yeah. Caring. Well, we just talked about that one. I wanted to ask you something else about feeding the homeless. That's something that, my family has done too. I think that the thing that's important to remember is that we may not be able to change what they're experiencing currently, but we can do something to help them have one day that is like where it might be a hot meal, which they may not have. It may not be bananas all the time. So it's something different, right? And I think that's the biggest takeaway because that one thing can create big impact, which was one of your other words, impact.
Yeah. And I think that comes a lot from my dad. Like I said, from the age of 10 to I would say 13, we would go on the weekends downtown Orlando, talk to the homeless, go take them to whether I remember one time we asked, "Hey, are you hungry?" of this homeless veteran, and he's like, "No, I just want a pack of cigarettes." So my dad went and took him to buy a pack of cigarettes. It's just about, having that conversation, going through and sitting down and eating dinner with the homeless community, and I learned a lot from that as a young kid, and and I take it today. I mean, giving, try to give back when I can,
Mm-hmm.
give back to the students or mentoring with startups and whatnot. I'd say a lot of that is from my dad.
Yeah,
Well,
that's really, really nice. I'm going to circle back to community builder because let's go through some of the organizations that you've been a part of.
yeah, I mentored as a community coach with UCF, helped out Startup Week in Orlando, Orlando tech scene. The I mentored a lot of students over the years with their startups or projects or products, physical products as
Did you
well.
go to UCF?
No, I actually went to Valencia.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. This campus, East?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, very nice. Little shout out for Valencia.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came to this campus, and yeah, and just really other things. I mean, just working with a bunch of college students or entrepreneurs across the board, help them out. Also with 1 million cups, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. So that's a lot of impact right there too. Just so people know, those are all organizations that focus on entrepreneurship. So let's talk about your personal story. Since you said you went to school here,
Yeah,
what did you focus on when you were here? And then how did it help to launch your career? Because when I met you, it was several years back. I want to say maybe, I don't know, somewhere between 7 to 9, probably 9. And you were you wanted to have help. And the hope was I was going to be hired to help you write a business plan. And it was all about something for, I believe, veterans out at UCF.
yeah. It was for veterans. We were trying to work. We had a piece of land out by UCF to build a community out there, so we were going to build like a tiny home community.
Yeah, I remember.
And we actually talked to the city, and it wasn't really going to work for that plot of land that we had. So that's why we never really went forward with it. But my backstory is I used to do theater a lot as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, and acted and did short films and film projects with my friends. And that's where I met one of my co-founders. We actually did theater together at the JCC in Maitland from the age of like 11, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I knew that my co-founder. And we actually started a film festival for high school. So
Really?
we had the JCC Teen Film Festival. It ran for 3 years. Me and that co-founder started that together.
Who was that?
Yoni Osteen.
I do not know this person.
Yeah. So me and Yoni started the JCC Teen Film Festival, and it ran for 3 years, and we would get a lot of submissions from the different high schoolers, and then we would, give awards based on the different categories. And when I got out of high school, I started going to Valencia at night, and I was working during the day, and I was trying to help my mom out quite a bit, and so it was tough. And I was working actually for a phone room and doing sales in a phone room, and I said, "Hey, I feel like I can do this myself." And so I took a small loan out and I went and started my own phone room in the financial services space. And then I saw the industry when it needed to be and change. So I actually went to my business partner at the time and we launched a website to help publicly traded companies and stockbrokers and investors connect um, through this platform. It's kind of like a social media platform for publicly traded companies, so to speak.
Hmm.
And so I launched that at the age of 21.
Hmm.
And then 3 years, 4 years after that, we sold it. And that was right when the market crashed. So if we would have sold it before that, probably made a lot more money on the sale. But we kind of saw the way that things were changing with legislation and everything going on. during 2008, 2009. And so that's why I got out.
Mm-hmm.
And I took some time off, try to figure out what I wanted to do. I had a production company that we did a lot of weddings and videos and stuff like that, but it was kind of running itself. And then I got involved with my family in the as seen on TV space. Um, they own two retail stores.
Mm-hmm.
So we expanded those stores. We opened up franchises with our own brand, and then we started manufacturing our own products. So it was great to be able to create our own products, manufacture those, and then start selling them in retail stores across the country. Physical products from kitchenware, housewares, gardening products, blenders, all different types of physical products that we created and sold.
You created them. So you were
Yeah.
in manufacturing, distribution,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then obviously the sales side of it.
Yeah. We worked with the manufacturers overseas. We would create them. We'd come up with the design. We'd come up with the commercials. We shot all the commercials for them, all different types of houseware products, um, uh, to even health and beauty products. And so that was great because that last we were running the Ascena TV products in the space from 2010 to 2020. And we just started seeing what was happening in the industry with Amazon coming in. On Amazon, they were selling a lot of knockoffs and fakes.
Mm-hmm.
People were making fake products of ours. And we slowly started getting out of the retail side of it. And thank God, because when COVID hit, all the retail stores closed. You know, in the summer of COVID, a lot of the malls were closed, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the stores were closed, and distribution was very hard because it's hard to get goods in to the US. And so our last Christmas, because that's the biggest shopping time of the year, was 2020, was that Christmas where we got out of all the retail stores. We sold all of them off, sold all the products off, and completely got out of that business. And at the time is when I got approached by my co-founder, the one I started the film festival with, regarding this app called Spot. And, he was always looking for people to go play tennis with because he had a newborn and him and his wife used to play tennis all the time. And now that they have a newborn, they can't go play tennis together. Same situation with me. I was always looking for things to do in my area with my wife and the kids. And we would look for like a local park, but if you ever go on like the government websites, if you ever go on your city websites, they're horrible, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't tell you what there is actually to do in your community around you.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was a real problem that each one of my co-founders were faced with. Um, some of our other co-founder, they were using WhatsApp to coordinate their football league, and another co-founder was looking for a place to go kayaking on Google Maps. It took him to a retention pond behind a Walmart.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
so we saw this as a first world, like this is really a problem that everyone's faced with, is finding things to do in their community, but not only that, finding those events and activities to go meet other people
Mm-hmm.
and meeting those people to do them on your skill level. It's really where Spot came out of.
So who did you see as your competitors for this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different competitors, but they're not doing it right. I mean, there's a lot of apps on the marketplace
Yeah.
that focus only on one or two sports. And most average people will do at least 6 to 8 different sports or activities, right? So there is a enthusiast app for, let's say, running or pickleball or basketball. But most people will try pickleball and they'll also play basketball and they'll also go running and also be into fishing and yoga. So there's not one stop shop for everything. There's not an app that helps you do all different types of sports and activities and helps you find those locations, find those events, and to meet new people. And so people talk about ClassPass, for example. A lot of ClassPass is more about indoor sports
Yep.
and focusing on paying. It's focused on the user side. It's not really focusing on the meetup part of it. Meetup's another one, but Meetup doesn't focus on fitness activities. It focuses on everything, right? And they're just launching. Meetup is just launching that component where people can meet other people. They
Mm-hmm.
just started that. People use Google Maps to find things near them, but it's kind of broken. People use Facebook events. Again, if you want to plan a pick,
Well, and you may not be on Facebook, right?
yeah, but if you want to plan a pickup game of basketball and I'm create a Facebook event, you know, from our focus group, somebody told us they tried using Facebook events, and then 40 people showed up, and they don't need 40 people for the basketball game, right? You only need 10, right? So those things are not built, but people are trying to hack it and trying to use these things like WhatsApp and Facebook and Meetup, and so we are the one-stop shop when it comes to physical activities and getting people active, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I remember that you won an opportunity to pitch at the Startup World Cup.
Yeah.
That's a big deal because I think that I had heard, I know I applied, but I did not know how far advanced everybody was that went up on that stage. And it's a big deal
Yeah.
to have won that spot. How did that feel? And let's talk about what Startup World Cup is, because I think this is the first year I ever heard of it.
Yeah, this is the first year. It's actually in Orlando. It's usually in Miami, from what I understand. They select 50 to 75 different cities around the world, and then they select the top 10 companies in that region or that area that will go up for the World Cup. Then they select the number one of that city, and then those companies go compete on the world stage for $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was great. It was an honor to be selected as a top 10 in this region from basically Tampa to Daytona. I think a lot to do with our advisors and the people that are on our team have really been pushing us forward. Early on, we knew this app is going to take a lot of money down the road
Yeah.
to go nationwide. And so we started off by making sure we had the right founders in place to cover our burn rate and to make sure we had ninjas in every domain, right? The key domain experts. So a lot of people were giving us the advice to not start off a startup with 5 founders. But me coming from other companies that I've started with by myself or with one founder, I knew I wanted to have a lot of help. And I knew that I wanted to be able right out the gate to have somebody that's expert in marketing, an expert in product, an expert in sales, right? So our 5 founders are those different experts. And that was the way we were able to keep our burn rate so low in the early days before we raised any money.
Mm-hmm.
And because we had such a strong team, it was easier for us to go get amazing advisors to join us, like Professor Christakis from Yale or Jeff Hoffman from Priceline and things like that. So that because when you're able to bring in a strong team, it's easier to go get advisors to join you and investors to join you because really the number one thing that drives startups is the team
Oh God, yeah.
in the early days.
Yeah. And having somebody that's a technical co-founder, I'm going to guess you were the finance one.
Yeah, I was more of the sales and the my expertise in building up companies from 0 to $10 million. That's really what my expertise is really starting companies up. And yeah, my co-founder is more the technical one, and then my other founder is more of the marketing. So we have 5 founders total. We've been together since the beginning,
How
and
long is that?
we started in I want to say April 2021.
Mm,
Yeah, we did a lot of research into the problem starting in 2020. We spent about 6 months just really
understanding.
understanding the problem. Originally, we wanted to go as a dating app, and through our focus groups and through the surveys and talking, a lot of people told us, "Hey, the moment you make it a dating app, it's going to cut off a bunch of people." And a lot of women told us this in the surveys. Facebook, Instagram is not a dating app, but people
Mm,
use those platforms to try to date. People message you right on Facebook and Instagram saying, "Hey, would you like to go get coffee?" And so they said if there's a messaging element in the app, people will use it to date. But then if you call it a dating app, you're going to turn off a lot of people from
yeah.
using it. So that's why we moved away from the dating aspect of it early on.
Mm-hmm. That's good feedback
Yeah.
too. Wow. Really interesting because I've seen people be asked out on LinkedIn. Like I've had people say, "Oh, you have such a beautiful smile." I go, "Oh, please
Yeah.
reject, leave." That's not what LinkedIn is for.
Yeah. But people use it for that,
Yeah,
right?
they do.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So, what is the next step for your company and Spot Fitness? Since you didn't get in there, but you guys seem to be. It's a beautiful website. It's a beautiful app. It looks great. I haven't downloaded it yet. Full disclosure, I'm going to.
yeah, definitely should.
Yeah. And tell us how people can find it, and then also if there's a cost, what is it?
Yeah, so the app is 100% free for users. You can find it on the Apple or the Google Play Store. You can go to the website spotfitness.app, and those two links are there for you to download it. And it's 100% free for the users. We make money off of the businesses. Businesses want to promote their locations or their exclusive deals, or if they want to promote through some of our services that we have, they can. And then it's a great way for you to find things to do near you based on the activities you select. There's over 30 different sports and activities for people to find near them, with over 3,000 locations in the area. In our launch areas from Daytona Beach to Volusia to Hillsborough, Tampa area. So we're across the whole I-4 corridor.
Wow. And that's really interesting because, you're still what we would still call infancy, right? As a startup, but you're making money
Yeah.
and you've got, users. I don't know how many users you have, but I'm sure, to have that type of a reach, you got to have some type of numbers for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So our active user base is a little bit over 5,000-6,000 now.
That's good.
And really we focused the initial VCs and investors we spoke to said the hard part of the two-side network is the B2C side, the
Hmm.
user side. And so we really focused on trying to figure out the metrics on the user side. And that's what we did in 2023, which is really figuring out to lower our cost per acquisition per user and build on the retention metrics. And we did that in 2023. And once we hit the two KPIs we're looking for, then in 2024, we shifted focus now on the B2B side, which is really now focusing on revenue monetization, which is what is really going to fuel our growth. So really, we hit those metrics early on, and then we shifted to now focus on the B2B side.
I like that. And just while you were talking, just so our listeners know, my listeners, I actually just went to Spot Fitness app, pulled it right up right away and downloaded it. And I have it now. So
Awesome. Thank
yeah,
you.
I did it while we were talking. So you have another number on
That's
there.
great.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a couple of other deeper dive questions. Well, one's a deeper dive. When you are looking back on your life now, just where you are now, because there's this place where you are at this point. 10 years from now, you'll have a different answer. What do you think is something that you've done that you're proud of and hope makes an impact on the world? Because I'm sitting here thinking it's going to definitely be focused on helping people get healthier for
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely. I would love Spot to be that platform to help people get active and to be healthier. And just the adoption of it will really change. People are addicted to their phones. I think the number is 1 in 4 adults are considered physically inactive,
Oh yeah.
and it's like 76% or 80% doesn't even do the minimum guidelines of the CDC, which is an hour and a half of activity a week.
Hmm.
And so, really, we're going to see that over time get worse with technology,
Yeah,
right?
and it
People are
makes
gonna have
us so
robots in their house.
sedentary.
Yeah, exactly. With robots in your house, you're not even gonna have to get off the couch. Everything gets delivered to you now, right? With DoorDash and Uber Eats, you don't even have to leave the house. And so we want to be able to disrupt that and change and build good habits for people. But not only that, I feel like if I left tomorrow, I feel like uh, people, especially my inner circle, my kids, my nieces, my nephews, my goddaughter, right? I feel like that's who I really wish would feel that impact
Mm,
and remember me for all the help I do for them or try
yeah.
to do for them, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, hopefully they have the app and
yeah,
they use the app and they become part of your evangelism
yeah,
to others. Yeah.
yeah. The early adopters, right?
Yeah. Early adopters. We always need lots of those. All right. What is your favorite cartoon, movie, or game about the future? Because this lends us to go into what the second half of the show is all about. So, what is yours and why?
Yeah, I thought about this. There's a couple different ones, right? I loved as a kid the action movie Demolition Man. Um, Back to Future is a great one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple that touch on the future. I always loved seeing as a kid what people thought the technology would be
Yeah.
in the future, right? And then when you're there now and you're like, that never happened. Like Back to the Future, time travel or whatnot. Um, but it's cool to see what people think the future will be and the technology that will be there. In movies in the 80s and the 70s, right? And the 90s even. It's cool to look back at that. So I had a couple different favorite, you know, I didn't really watch honestly much cartoons as a kid. I
So you know what came out on Hulu? It's on Hulu, is the Jetsons.
Yeah.
And so I started watching that and I binged on it. And it was actually created, well, it launched in 1964. And I went, they had flying cars. They were seeing flying cars in the Jetsons. And that was not a cartoon. What also dawned on me, this is not a cartoon for kids. This was really supposed to be something for more of adults, is what I came to realize, because kids could watch it and they would love it. But the conversations, there was a teenage daughter, there was a little boy, and he was doing his homework. And he would do his homework with all types of technology that we have now. They talked about virtual reality. They talk about augmented reality. They were talking about, of course, cars that could fly and robots. And they had all of this stuff. And I went, this is amazing that somebody was thinking of this back at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of cartoons that you think they're for kids, and then you watch it as an adult. You're like, this is not for kids at all.
So what is Demolition Man? I've not seen that one.
Demolition
That
Man's
sounds like an
it's
adult
it's an
movie.
adult movie. I remember seeing it as a kid. I probably shouldn't be watching it as a kid. To Wesley Snipes.
Oh yeah.
And it's like an action movie, but I remember seeing like they like froze he was like a convict and they like coming back into the future. I remember that as a kid because it was like showing the technology in the future with the cars and the self-driving cars. And those cars in that movie kind of look like Teslas. It's
Really?
cool. Yeah. It's
Well,
really
when do you think it came out?
I think came in like 1990.
Ooh, let me look while we're talking here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Demolition Man.
Yeah.
1993.
Yeah. And then like there's like a food problem. There was a food shortage in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the high class established restaurant was Taco Bell
Oh my
because
God.
Taco Bell could be like because Taco Bell could like stay ahead with the food costs, I think. That's
Well,
cool.
it's very low cost ingredients, right?
Mhm.
Beans,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another movie I loved as a kid for the future was Fifth Element.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
a good
that
movie
was a
too.
great one. Yeah, Chris Rock or Chris Tucker, I think it is. Chris Tucker and
Didn't it have
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Fifth Element. And that was the girl with the wig that had the orange hair.
yeah, yep, yep.
Was she a robot? I don't
No,
remember
no,
this
she was
movie.
just a future sentient thing. So yeah. Um, the Fifth Element was a great movie too, and the technology, like they put like the little food into the microwave, and then they turn it on, and then it expands the food and turns it to pizza.
Oh,
Those are
it's
great movies.
so much fun. And then you mentioned Back to the Future. So what did you like about that one?
Yeah, I had a friend in middle school and high school that loved the Back to the Future projects and the movies, and he memorized them line by line. And
Hmm.
they're great how they all work together. All three movies are
Yeah, the
intertwined with each
series.
other. Yeah. I don't think they can make a fourth one. I think if they make a fourth one, it's going to mess it up. But I think that how they
Well,
all are all interconnected within those movies and how they go together is
hmm
awesome.
yeah, they obviously can't because Marty McFly,
Yeah,
well, no, sorry. Main character,
Michael J. Fox and
Michael J. Fox is not able to do
Doc.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah. But he was Marty McFly,
yeah, he
right?
was
Yeah,
Marty
he
McFly. Yeah.
was. That was his character. Yeah. So many good ones. Mine, I will put The Matrix on there.
Oh, Matrix is amazing. I can't believe I didn't think about that.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Matrix itself. It's like, the code when it opens up and all of
yeah,
that code
yeah.
running down the page.
Yeah, I didn't see. I was thinking more of stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Matrix came later on in my life, and so definitely Matrix is an amazing movie. My brother showed me that for the first time. I was like 18, maybe something. I'm dating myself here.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. They seem very fresh in our minds, but they truly were very visionary and they did.
Yeah,
I think that people in science fiction, I don't know about you, but I think people in science fiction are must be very well read. They have extremely um, active imaginations where anything is possible. And if they're well read and they think anything's possible, that's where so much comes from. I
absolutely.
I don't think it's just people in a lab.
No, if you think about all the crazy stuff that George Lucas came up with Star Wars,
Yeah.
there's a whole worlds and multiple characters and languages, and it's wild.
Yeah, I think a lot of that because I remember my church was doing this series about the Matrix, and they were identifying the Christ image throughout that particular movie. So I think that some of this comes from things that are from spiritual materials,
Yeah.
different faiths, but I'm Christian, so I'll throw that one out there. But every faith has something where they're talking about what the past is, and then somebody that isn't like Notre Dame and that's putting out the future, so,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
possible.
Matrix, they call it Nebuchadnezzar.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so we're going to take a moment and acknowledge our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios, and we will be right back.
The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Cat 5 Studios, who help you create games and videos for your training and marketing needs that are out of this world. Visit Cat 5 Studios for more information to learn how Cat 5 Studios can help your business. Thank you, Cat 5 Studios.
Now we're back. It's hard to believe 30 minutes have flown by.
yeah.
But we're back to the second half of our show where we talk about the future of jobs and industries. And today's guest, just so everybody knows, is Adam Ben-Evi. Evie. Got it right. Yes.
Ben-Evi. You can.
Yeah. Well, you're very gracious. Yeah. Names are important. We should get it right. Evie. Yes. What do you think 2030 is going to look like in the world for your industry as it's related to fitness, right? And what do you think the jobs would be like? What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're diving into Central Florida, I think Central Florida is going to change. I feel like we're like New York in the 80s, where a lot of growth. I've spoken to some developers. They believe Florida is going to be grown out, and just the buildings and the community across the board is going to be filled in like New York City, which is crazy to think, but not by 2030. I feel, and I think people are open now to meeting other people through technology, like what has happened with Tinder and Bumble. So I think it's going to be a lot easier for people to meet up to do some kind of physical activity. To let's say you want to go find a tennis partner, or if you want to go fishing with someone, or any kind of physical activity like a pickleball match. I feel like people are more open to that because there's security in place where you can meet people and be safe about it to go do those activities. So I feel like our app is going to be able to expand on that and change the way people go out and meet other people. Because with research shows, I mean, if you find a buddy, or if you find a group of people to go do an activity with, you're 4 times more likely to continue doing that activity.
Wow.
So it's really important to build those habits with other people to go out and get active. As far as employees and employers in this area, you see a lot of growth, especially in Central Florida with Space Coast, right? Space travel is happening with all the theme parks that Disney Universal is building. I feel like Central Florida is really going to be a place that people want to come to in the next 20 years. I see it exploding over the next 20 years.
I hope so, because we are built on an aquifer.
Yeah.
And we're pretty much a floating island too. I don't know how far up it goes, but Miami has experienced some attrition just because the water level has been rising. It's up like 5 feet more than it was, I believe, since 20 years ago. And I think that's significant. Sometimes I talk to my dad and I go, I think it's time to be considering living in a silo somewhere back in Kansas where I'm from. But,
I think we're in beachfront property here in Orlando soon. In the next 20 years, with water rising, we're going to have beachfront property in Orlando.
We could. It is possible, with Daytona and Tampa, they're both having encroaching areas. It could be, this is the place.
I definitely see from Miami to Daytona, across I-4 to Tampa, I feel like all that's going to be filled in. I feel like the 95 to Daytona across to Tampa, I think that's all going to be filled in.
You know what? When I was going to the Cape Kennedy, the Kennedy Space Center this weekend, I could not believe how high the water level was there. And I'm going, the roads are going to get covered. We must have built this just on a giant swamp area.
Yeah. Well, Florida is a swamp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. So yeah. Okay. Well, we have some of that as new problems that we get to traverse, because also in a lot of the movies and the cartoons that people were living in housing that was way up above the land, right? So it could be something very similar to what the Jetsons have. But if you look at other places that are out there, like Dubai, they have something similar where people live in structures that are way above the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
So
Or it'll turn into water world. Yeah.
Waterworld, yeah, another
Good
good
one.
movie
Yeah.
too. So, what positive impact do you think AI can have on the future? And if you want to throw in some robots there, we already
Yeah.
introduced that. I know that's not your area of specialty, but feel free.
So positive impacts. You know, we what we're building with Spot is like a recommendation system, an AI recommendation system to not only help people find things to do near them, but also the right times and the right people, and you can coordinate using AI. And if it feels like it's coming from AI, I feel like people are more open to it. Like a suggestion, if I told you, hey, you should go check out this coffee shop, it's different than you seeing an ad on Facebook to go check out a coffee shop. You're gonna listen to me.
Yeah,
And I
you're
feel
a micro influencer for me.
yeah, and so I think AI can become that, and to make those recommendations. Scary is obviously advertisers and companies taking advantage of that and giving suggestions like what they've done on social media, where you see ads, or where you see with the election, or all um the different things that they're doing to influence the election, right?
Yeah, with like augmented reality likeness,
Yeah,
twins, if you
exactly.
will, and saying, "Oh, this is not me." I know Canal did that last year.
Yeah,
Said, "So Merry Christmas," and he's not a Merry Christmas guy, but he said Happy New Year, and he said, "You may think just because this looks like me and it sounds like me, it's me, but it is not."
yeah. So that's wild what's happening with that
Hmm.
technology, which they need to really figure out ways to kind of curb that.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to become something that it should have a disclaimer on it. Have you watched any of Black Mirror?
No, I don't.
Oh my God. That's the thing to watch for sure. It paints the dark picture of what it is. It's on Netflix. And they do 5 shows, which creates a season. They're very powerful. They are, I believe that whoever created them, and I should know this, but I will by the next show. Um, the team that created it made it so people would stop and think.
Yeah,
Because if we do not put guardrails around things, stuff happens. Um, there's this other show that's on Netflix that does a 180, and it's called The Future of dot dot dot. And the future of is a more positive way of looking at how AI is being used, robots, all of this. So there's the dark and the light, if you
yeah.
will.
So you mentioned disclaimer. I feel like it's people are gonna adapt and learn to ignore that disclaimer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at like you ever seen an ad for like medicine
Politics, yeah.
but medicine, it's like
Yes.
this medicine can kill you. This
Yes.
medicine you can lose limbs, right? And
Yeah.
and people ignore the ad that part
Oh,
of the
it's not
ad.
going to happen to
Yeah,
me.
because I'm gonna take it for because I have like I don't know diabetes or whatever.
Right.
And so the same thing with that disclaimer, it's gonna say, hey, this is not Adam on Facebook, and people are still gonna think it's coming from Adam. And I feel like a disclaimer is not gonna work. I feel like they really have to learn to identify what's real and what's fake, and we see that happening right now with all this, people posting fake stuff on the internet all the time, and
Yes.
and people believe in it, and where do you go to fact check it? Because now there's fact checkers that are fake too, right? So,
Yeah.
right, so you see that all the time with all the wars that are going on around the world.
Mhm.
There's like this side, and then there's this side, and then you see, well, is that really what the truth is, or is that really what the truth is? And then you don't really know what to believe.
Yeah.
Mm.
Someone I know had said, "Oh, there's a food shortage. It's happening." And so she went and she piled up 3 months of water, of dry packaged
Mhm.
goods and canned goods. And I went, "Really? How did I miss this?" But I don't always listen to the news, so I'm going, "Okay, I haven't seen a run on the grocery stores like when we have hurricanes here in Florida."
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of was going, is this? And so then I looked it up. I did a search, Google search, and it's telling me that FEMA is saying that too. And I go, well, that could still be an AI
Mhm.
bot also that's putting it out. So to your point, people do need to be dialed in. They do need to be responsible for any information they're consuming from wherever to make sure is this real? And I think that it's more than just doing a simple Google search or
Yeah,
an AI search.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I have ideas on how people can be more dialed in. I mean, obviously, they need to be listening to both right and maybe and left-sided opinions and actually being very engaged with what they are watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And do you remember a little while back there was a rally between a college kid and an Indian Native American
Yes.
on the Capitol steps,
Yes.
and there's two views, and there was like everyone was trying to. I remember seeing that because they're showing one side of the view, and then the other side of the view came out, and then there was a big lawsuit that happened. So that
Mhm.
happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
Where something gets uploaded where it's one sided, and then you actually find out what is the real story, what's the other side of it, and so it's hard to actually get the truth on things because everyone
Mhm.
has a camera, everyone has a phone, right? And then how do you really figure out what is the actual story to be able to judge both sides of the story, right?
Mhm. It's similar to this scenario, which has been a case study. There's an accident in the middle of an intersection. There are 4 points of view. Each one of the corners, somebody saw something, but there's also an overhead view, right? And then there's also the view of the person that's inside of the car, what they're seeing. So there's so many sides to it. It's not just one point of view.
Mm-hmm.
It's to your point, you have to consider many, many
Absolutely.
pieces of information
Yeah.
to make a good decision. Yeah. So there's the creator of AI. His name is Jeffrey Hinton, and he was one of those thought leaders that was way back in, whether it was Harvard or any of the Ivy League schools, where they were putting together computers and they were creating all of the things that we have now. And they were the ones that were creating AI. And so people don't realize that it's been around for a long time. It's not something that just fell out of the sky, so to speak. He was interviewed on 60 Minutes back on October 8th, 2023. And his concern was one of the ways in which these systems, AI, might escape control is by writing their own code to modify themselves. And that's something we need to seriously worry about. So, again, going back to like what you were saying, people need to be, we'll use the word woke to this. They need to be engaged. They need to be not trusting everything that they read or watch or listen to is fact.
Yeah.
Fact check it yourself.
Yeah, it's sad. The other day there was I think this a teenager died
I saw
by
that.
suicide based on a relationship with AI.
Yeah.
And
It was emotional and sexual, they said,
yeah,
with a chat bot.
it's wild. I would say that very well could happen, right? AI writing its own code.
Yeah.
Um, I'm I'm more concerned about like advertisers and people being able to change the way the AI speak to you, right? So you saw the Tesla robots.
Yes.
So I feel like what's going to end up happening is you're either going to pay $100,000 for this robot in your house, or you can get it for 20,000 and then you pay a subscription. But that subscription is going to come with the robot suggesting, oh, you should try this water bottle, or you should try this
Mm-hmm.
toilet paper, or like the robot's going to be in your house and it's going to learn everything about you. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to learn everything you buy. It's going to learn everything you do, and then they're going to start changing your habits and behaviors based on.
Because they'll influence you.
Absolutely. And I
And you're
feel
going to
like,
believe it's true.
yeah, and you're gonna believe it's true. Do you ever, when Windows 95 came out,
Yeah.
you know why they gave you those two games, Minesweeper and
No,
Solitaire?
why?
Okay, so they put those two games on Windows 95 because they were trying to teach people how to use the mouse. And so if you
Oh.
play Solitaire, what do? You drag and drop.
Mm-hmm.
And when you use Minesweeper, you use the right button. So they've changed our habits by giving us these two games that people love playing, and they taught us how to use the mouse because that's when the mouse came out in
Mm-hmm.
Windows 95. And so you see that all the time, and people don't
Interesting.
realize how easy it is. I learned this a lot from my
The
co-founder.
psychology that went
Yeah.
into it to go, how do we modify people's behavior?
Yeah. And I see this a lot. My co-founder has a background in habit forming apps and changing people's habits when it comes to television broadcasters. That's what he's done most of his life.
Well, it's not even just the habits. I mean, a habit is still a choice. We make a choice to do something, but it's also the choices that we make.
Yeah.
And that's important too.
But if you can change the habit and choice by adding something, right? By the way that they make the phone, the design of the phone, the way they do that is they know like the bottom right hand corner is the most important part of the phone. And so there's certain things that they've built into technology to change the way people use their technology, or the way that social media is set up, or the way, like, why did TikTok go so viral? Because the way that it's so short form and the way that people share it in those clips and whatnot. So it's very easy to change people's habits when it comes to technology. It's about, are we going to build a company that builds good habits, or gets people still time on their phone, right?
You know what I think is going to be happening too? I believe that we need to have more, just like what you're saying. I hesitate to call it this, but more, I'll call it stewardship rather than governance or regulations, because that sounds, most people have a negative mindset towards that. But stewardship, we need to have more stewardship around the technology that we have available to us and how we're using it, so that we are using it in a positive way, a way that is built around trust and transparency and all of the qualities and traits that we want. Because if I have a robot in my home
Yeah.
and it is there and it has now been programmed to help me make bad choices,
Yep.
that's concerning. And that worked in the election years, 4 years ago, when the Russians and Chinese, I believe it was Russians and Chinese, that had come in and hacked through the candidates.
Influenced, yeah.
And they influenced the election.
Yeah.
So if that can be done that easily in this world, then, it can impact millions of people. And we really need to be very much paying attention. I think that there's this place of guidelines are good for us. Systems are good for us, but they can also be bad for us. And so, like your app, you designed an app that was there to help people not be complacent, not be sedentary, and to do things and to build relationship with people. I think we need to have things like that, in addition to certifications that people have to earn to show that they're going to be using AI responsibly and ethically. They need to have some other type of stewardships in place where people are taught how to be using their mind to check things themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Technology for good. And
Technology for good.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, here we are. We're going to move to the next to last question then. What is the best mentoring advice that you would like to share with our listeners about the future?
Yeah, that would be really a lot of, I would say, especially people that are under the age of 40.
They grew up with this. The phone is, they came out of the womb with the phone in their hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone has the same hours in the week. And you got to look at, do you want to spend your time, watching shows, Netflix, being on your phone, or do you want to spend your time actually building something? And it takes a lot for somebody to go out, become an entrepreneur, and go out and start something. It takes a lot of time.
This is the hardest thing I've ever done. Don't you agree for yourself?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
And I've done it many times, and it's hard, but it's rewarding. And you can go spend, 40 hours a week working a 9-to-5 job. And then after 40, 50 years, you retire and you're good. Or you can go kill yourself, which is the way I look at it. I love this. I'll go spend 80 hours a week right now so I can retire at the age of 45 because I've built something, right?
I don't think that you're killing yourself. I think you're investing in things.
Yeah. I say kill yourself.
You make a choice.
I say kill yourself, but I'm meaning like really just going out and being determined and just don't stop and just go out and do it, right? There's people that spend their time on TikTok, or they want to spend their time on Netflix, and they want to spend their time doing things that don't further themselves, and you can go spend that extra time building and creating stuff. Go set up like an Etsy store, go sell stuff online, or go create a product, or go spend and invest, watch in YouTube videos to learn other things, right? Go learn about a trade or a craft or something, or go to like networking events, go meet new people. But instead they would rather just sit and watch TikTok videos, right? And go and be on social media, or watch that new show on Netflix. And so really just go, you're young and you gotta go spend that time, especially if you are right out of college, you have so much time on your hands. Go out and spend that time to further yourself.
I like that. I think that's a really, really good quote. I think you also brought up something that I find very interesting too, is the Tesla robots, because honestly, when I saw them, I went, this is straight out of one of the movies that I've seen that was not a happy ending. That was a little bit scary. It wasn't Terminator, but it kind of felt a little bit like it. It could have been. And I think that some of that influence is due based on historically how we've seen what robots are supposed to look like, versus what they can look very real, and they will look very real. Yeah, we will have a hard time finding out, what it's really supposed to look like. Now, how can my listeners find you? What is the website? Where can they get the app? Let's do another little promotion for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to www.spot.fitness, FITNESS.app, APP. So spotfitness.app is the website. You can download the app for free. Check it out. Love feedback on that. And you can follow me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I think it's / Ben-Evi, BENEVI. And, really appreciate you having me. And
this has been great. I know we tried this before, and I know you had some personal challenges too that happened, and I hope everybody's fine.
Yeah, everyone's great.
Yeah. But I'm glad you were able to make it. So this is a really good episode, by the way.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, so for our listeners, keep tuned. Be sure to connect with Adam on his LinkedIn page and download the app.
Thank you.
We want to thank our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios, and thank you to our video production and editing team, Gavin Staley and Rachel Mathis. Music is by Sophie Lloyd. The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Employers for Change, helping hiring teams to recruit and upskill their intern talent and employees. Learn more at www.e4c.tech and become a member to reduce employer bias and improve company culture through head and heart smart recruiting and learning. Subscribe to The Intern Whisperer today and show your support by sharing our show, tagging a friend, and leaving us comments. You can find the Intern Whisperer podcast on Employers for Change YouTube channel or streaming from your favorite podcast channel. Thank you so much.